Ladies and gentlemen, it's that time of year again, when I poke my head above the parapet and pontificate about the future. In this instance, that means the next 12 months. I take on board the obvious criticism of such folly that trying to second-guess the future is a mug's game. Anyone who had a go this time last year will have been smashed into the ground. What a year! It's not only a matter of saying what a year, but whoever in their right mind would guess in their wildest dreams that a form of flu, which is not as deadly as real influenza, would bring the world to a halt. Did anyone in December 2019 think that a cartoon of the globe draped with a closed sign would sum things up quite neatly? Why would any sane government wreck their country's economy? Why would any sane entity tell us to wear masks when every single scientific investigation has pointed out that wearing a mask is marginally more dangerous than not wearing one? That masks do not stop the virus from entering or leaving? Would any sane person claim that standing 2 meters away from other people would somehow stop you catching a disease from viruses that can easily float around on the winds of the day? Viruses are microns thick. Do you know how small a micron is? Actually, it's a bloody sight smaller than the interstices between the weave of an average mask, and smaller than the breathing mechanisms of any mask available. After all, why do you think certain children died as a result of having to wear masks while doing physical exercises at school? Want to see how masks behave? Check out the American Journal of Physics. They have put online videos showing masks in action. And why, oh why, would anyone think that in order to protect the vulnerable, the rest of folks who were not particularly vulnerable, that's 96% of the population, were required to go into what was effectively house arrest? What was wrong with suggesting those who were vulnerable should isolate? But we live in a strange world governed by brain-dead fuckwits. The bottom line is that politicians like bossing people around. That, surprise, surprise, is not supposed to be their purpose. The trouble is, the opportunity to boss others around is there, and appeals to precisely those persons who should be kept out of politics. And we are all in serious trouble at the moment, not because of the virus, but because of the control freaks who are destroying our lives. We also have another strange paradox, namely that those people most at risk of this almost new direction governments are taking are the ones most welcoming it. Democracy has taken a rather nasty, and for most of us, an unexpected turn. These days, democracy is almost synonymous with fascism. Fascism, I might remind my readers, is a form of political thought that requires that the general population does as it's bloody well told, or else. It was the kind of rule demanded by Hitler and Mussolini, among others. It was the kind of rule that a previous generation fought 2 world wars against. And it is now the philosophy that is demanded by the mentally retarded generation that sees a possibility of using this worn-out philosophy to get what they want. And what is that? They want to control how people think, behave, and live. And of course, they want lots and lots of free handouts. Never mind where those handouts come from. Once upon a time, and that wasn't so long ago, most of us believed that everyone was equal. Now it is the case that some people are more equal than others. I belong to a generation that hoped they had squeezed so many ideas out of existence. We believed that all people were not necessarily equal, but they required equal treatment in the social world. We believed that the colour of your skin was irrelevant. We believed that we lived in the global village. Sadly, I still believe all that. Not so a current bunch of New World Order freaks. They believe that Black Lives Matter. Well, and so they do. But what a racist statement. The idea that the colour of skin is important is something that I thought we'd squashed over 50 years ago. Apparently not. Apparently the new philosophy says that racism is back with a vengeance. 50 years ago, some of us thought that, to quote a phrase, patriotism is the last resort of a scoundrel. Nowadays, internationalism is dead in the water. A futile president of the USA once castigated the people of the UK, never mind whether it was any of his business, that we should espouse democracy and stay within the confines of the EU. What a crackpot to believe that doing as you're told is the same as democracy. The trouble is, the world is not a world I recognise, and I am therefore perhaps not the person to look into the future. Because from my standpoint, the future consists of the actions of madmen. And just to be careful here, just as many mad women. For my sins, I attended more than one university and studied more than one subject. One I studied was called PPE, which stood for Politics, Philosophy and Economics. If I had espoused the economic theories that are standard these days, I would have been asked to leave the course. If I had espoused the modern political theories, I would have been laughed at by my peer group. From where I'm standing, the social order has taken a whole bunch of steps back into the Dark Ages. And as such, I can make no predictions whatsoever, except that we appear to be heading for serious disorder. I hasten to add that will not prevent me from saying my piece, and what that will mean is that over the course of the next few weeks I will highlight what I think are the current problems and what chaos is likely to either make them better or worse. I certainly won't be able to change things, but with cunning and some luck, I might be able to find a way to survive what is coming down the line. What areas will I discuss? First will naturally be the matter of real estate, as this blog is supposed to be an adjunct to the unique property site. Second will be the economics on which real estate rests. Third, I will not be able to get away from politics, and this in itself will lead back to property, inasmuch as I shall be trying to find out how sane people can continue to live in a relatively hassle-free life somewhere on the planet. I will address a few matters such as the apparent descent of the USA into a banana republic run by crooks. I will address the EU as a fascist experiment which is designed to give power to a small elite at the expense of the general public, and which is maybe heading towards disaster. That in itself leads to the question of what happens after the crash, and how far away that crash might be. I will look at the problem of money and how it got the way it is, and why modern monetary theory is a wonderful philosophy that can only survive if it adheres to Zeno's paradox. If that statement puzzles you, look it up and think about it. A small clue: how does it all end? What else? Anything I can think of to put under the microscope. This series is going to become another book and will probably run and run. I shall also put the instalments on my YouTube channel, and hopefully this is how you're watching it. I hope you'll like and subscribe. All the bits and pieces are down there somewhere. But until next time, and if you are watching this on YouTube, do remember to hit those various buttons and like things. Oh yes, and perhaps I should start a book on how long these talks will remain online, given the behaviour of so many of our wonderful free speech guardians who are joining the fascist camp and love nothing better than blocking views that don't fit their ideology. Oh, God. And love nothing better than blocking views that don't fit their ideology. See you next week with Volume 2. Bye for now.